Ishwaram, as resplendent sun. It's the start of a bright new day. Time to rise, time to shine, Lord divine. Time to lead us along life's way. Awake, Lord of Buddha party. Awake, O Lord, over all mankind. Awake, O Lord of compassion, that the world good fortune may find.
Sai Ram. One time, going up to Prasanthi from Bangalore. In the early days, there would usually be maybe 3 or 4 cars that Swami would take along with his car. And at that time there was more forest than there is now, I think. And so he would take an off-road that the big retinue of devotees didn't know about, and when it came time for lunch, he would turn off into the forest. And then the ladies of the party would take lunch out of the back of the car, and sometimes he would send one of the cars to a town which was close by for some delicious food too. So on this particular time, particular instance, that's what happened. And as the ladies were taking the food out of the back of the car to get lunch ready, some of the men were walking around, myself with them, and they were throwing rocks at a wood apple tree. Here in America we wouldn't know what a wood apple tree was, but the Indian people will know what that is. And so one of the rocks succeeded in knocking a wood apple off the branch. And they picked it up, and Swami said, give it to me. So they gave it to Swami. And Swami put it in his hands, and with the usual breath on the wood apple, he then opened his hand, and the wood apple had changed into a circular disc. And Swami said, this is the moon. And then he said, these bright lines running across the disc, they are veins of minerals in the moon. And he said the other side, and he turned it, is the back side of the moon, the back of the moon. And the whole thing was a very beautiful object. And he passed it around hand to hand. We all looked at it, and I was the last one to take it. And at that moment, the ladies called us to lunch. So I put the thing in my pocket. And after lunch, I didn't offer to return it. Until we got to the car, and so I said, all right, Hislop, give it to me. And so then he moved his hand, and the ring disappeared. Another time, we were up in Prasanthi, and there was new construction going on. And Baba and a group of the ashram officials started to walk along the path where the canteen was, because the new construction was at the end of the canteen, end of that road. And so I joined them and went along with them. And we looked at the construction and so on. And then, as we passed a pile of the construction material, I bent down and picked up a seashell, because you know you find seashells almost every place. I picked up a seashell. Then we got in the car to go to another place. And Swami said, "Give me the seashell, Hislop." So I gave it to him. And he moved his hand like that. And he changed it into a rabbit, bunny rabbit, with the big ears and the tail and everything. And we admired that. Then he said, "Well, Hislop, what shall I change it into next?" And so I said, "Well, Swami, change it into a lion." And so I said, "Lion, lion, no, you're a lion, no lion." Now the reason I asked, and the reason probably he refused, had to do with something that happened in Madras. And at one of the conferences in Madras, Swami was in the conference room, and one lady who apparently had acute vision of some sort saw Swami in that room where there were people walking coming across the room, riding on the back of a lion. Riding the back of a lion. And so she took a photograph. And sure enough, the photograph showed Swami riding this lion. So my wife and I were eager to examine that picture, and so the next time we went to Madras, we went to the house of this lady and asked to see the picture, and she showed it to us, and sure enough it was exactly as I described. There was Swami, and here was this room, and there was people in the room, and here was Swami astride a lion. And so I said, "Gee, we'd like to have a copy of this. Can we make a copy?" And she said, "Good heavens, no." She said, "Swami was as angry as could be with me for taking that picture." So that's why I made the request, and I suppose that's why Swami refused it with some annoyance. And another incident in Madras. Probably the youngsters here at least, maybe some of them believe that there are such things as angels. We grown men, of course, don't believe that. But I'll tell you a story about angels. And Swami, in early days, he had this family in Madras, and they were host and hostess to Swami whenever he went to Madras. And in early days, he would go to Madras quite frequently. At that time, he was driving a car himself. And when the word got out to the devotees that Swami was going to Madras, they would, at vantage points, be on the road to watch the Madras-Bangalore road. Because along would come Swami's car, with Swami sitting behind it and his arms folded like that, and the car about 2 inches off the road. And that was observed a number of times. So one day, Swami went to Madras, and he came to the house of his hostess. And you know, in India, when the avatar comes to visit your house, the ladies of the house are expected to do something about that. You know, they have some sort of a welcoming ceremony. Flowers and fruit and a tray and whatever is appropriate for that occasion. Right, dear lady? Yes. So Swami arrived, and the hostess came to the door and said, "Oh, Swami, Swami, I'm so happy to see you, but you didn't tell me, Swami, and I haven't got anything." No flowers, no fruit, no tray, nothing. Swami said, don't worry about that. And he turned to the car and beckoned like that. And out of the car comes two angels with wings, carrying a big silver tray with fruit and flowers and everything necessary for the welcoming ceremony. They handed it to the lady, then Swami made a motion, and they went back to the car and disappeared. Now, about 10 years after that, when Swami had the colleges and he was starting to take the boys on expeditions on a bus, one time he took the boys to Madras on a bus. And they had to go to the house of Swami's hostess because Swami would be staying there. And the hostess came out. She was expecting Swami that time. She came out, saw the boys, then she went back in the house and brought out the big silver tray that the angels had given to her years before and told the boys that story. So, angels apparently do exist. And apparently they're part of the hierarchy on the inner circles. They say in India that the devas all have particular tasks. For example, devas direct traffic and are supposed to prevent accidents. One time we were going up to Simla, way up in the Himalayas. Yes, Simla. And we went to Chandragarth first. Went from airplane. Swami's devotees had hired an airplane, private airplane. So we got on the airplane and went to Chandragarth. And Swami, of course, would wander back and forth and even go into the pilots' cabins and talk to the pilots and so on. And at Chandragarth, we were supposed to give a talk to the assembled devotees there. So Swami went to the big enclosure where it was to take place and got on the platform and started to give his talk. But then the people there were so restless. They got up and started walking around and raising dust and so on. So Swami cut his talk short, and we went back to the airplane. And then the devotees there were supposed to take us on up to Simla. So they had cars for us, for Swami, and then for those of us in the party who were with Swami. And then many other devotees got in cars to go up too. Now those of you who've ever followed Swami in cars, and many people have, any of you Westerners ever follow Swami in a car going anyplace? You did, yes. It's a crazy experience because all the taxi drivers and the private drivers, they do nothing but jockey for place. They want to be the car directly behind Swami's car so they can look through the back window and see the back of Swami's head. And so they're constantly trying to pass each other like that. So on the way up to Simla, our driver was no different than the others. And he thought he saw an opening, so he pulled out and put on the gas and put full speed ahead, thinking he would find a way to get in the traffic lane. But there was no opening. He couldn't get in. Then we saw ahead of us, standing on the road, a policeman. And this car was headed dead on for that policeman. And so we thought, oh boy, this is going to be something. He's going to kill that policeman. And he went by the policeman when we heard a bang, and all that happened was the side of the car hit the policeman's belt buckle. And it made a noise and didn't even knock him down. So when we got up to Simla, I said to Swami, Swami, it must be that you drive the cars. So I said, no, I don't drive the cars. He said, it's up to the driver of the car to take care of the car, and Swami only steps in at the very last moment to avert an accident. Then, up at Simla, one day he said to me, Hislop, you and your wife have a taxi early in the morning and don't tell anybody because we're going to go on an expedition. So we were in our car, a taxi, early in the morning, and Swami's car came, and about 3 other cars came. Swami had invited. And so we went along a road through great snowfields, away high up in the Himalayas mountains. We could see the towering peaks above us and so on. And after about an hour and a half driving, we came to the end of that road, and there was a gate. So we went into the field at the end of the gate, and the car stopped, and the ladies started to pull the stuff out of the cars for lunch. Now, Swami walked away from where the ladies were towards the edge of a precipice. Now, many of you here have been in the Himalayas mountains, and you know there are tremendous abrupt valleys, just straight down like that. And so that was like the end of this field was, straight down. And Swami walks towards the end of the field. So the men followed him, but at a respectful distance. And so as he approached the edge of the field, up comes the head of a lady. Then the lady comes up and is standing on the edge, a slender Indian lady with the typical sari on. Swami goes up to her. Now the ladies were too far away to hear, but the men who followed fairly close could hear what went on. And Swami said, "So, you have come at last." Then he moved his hand and he made a diamond necklace and diamond earrings, put the earrings on the lady, put the necklace over her head. She then stepped backward and climbed down the face of the cliff and completely disappeared. Very mysterious, wouldn't you say? Very, very mysterious.